that drilling off these coasts could cause irreversible damage to places we hold dear. And because the consumer doesn't matter at all. That's not going to be I can't. It gets me upset. As the climate crisis continues to threaten communities across the country and we are transitioning to a clean energy economy, now is the time to protect these coasts for our children and grandchildren, he said. Okay. So because they want to transition to this clean economy, this clean energy economy, they're forcing us to pay more because of the transition. Because all this is doing is forcing us to pay more for goods. That's all this is doing in the name of climate change. So let's look into the environment, because we're talking about the environment. Look at what's going on in California. Mismanagement of forests causes wildfires affecting the environment and the animals that live in that habitat. Now, the Biden offshore drilling, they're banning offshore drilling, causing energy to go up in price in the name of the environment. And then now what's going on right now with the federal government, the windmills, there's a lot of evidence to prove, and there's a documentary that I actually want to watch that is saying that the federal government is killing whales with windmills. So check this out.
For years, the government has insisted that the increase in whale deaths off the East Coast has no relationship to the wind industry's high-decibel pile driving and boat activity. But now, according to friend of the show Michael Schellenberger, a new documentary will challenge that notion.
Here's a clip of Thrown to the Wind, a public production.
There aren't many places where the North Atlantic right whale can go. It's destined to extinction.
It sounds like they're like on some pile driving.
This is what the whale is experiencing, and nothing over Mile
What the United States
the whales are hearing because of the winds.
Is thousands of wind turbines in an area that our whales, our dolphins, our marine life, where they live, where they migrate, where they breed. It's only when they started going into the wind lease areas that we believe that the whales are dying.
So those red dots are whale deaths.
Precisely.
What a scandal.
Here to delve more into this issue is investigative journalist Michael Schellenberger, who helped research and produce this documentary that is being released today. Welcome, Michael.
Thanks for having me.
So what is the argument, the causal argument that between whale deaths and the introduction of these wind turbines?
Sure, there's basically two mechanisms that we think are causing the whale deaths. The first is there's boat traffic in areas where there has not historically been boat traffic. And we know that whales tend to hide from the boats. They know that they're a threat and they avoid them. And so when you add new boat traffic to areas that had been previously untrafficked, you're going to get more boat strikes, which are one of the leading causes of death, if not the leading cause of death. The second mechanism is that loud noise that you hear, which is sonar mapping of the ocean floor. Eventually will be pile driving to build those wind turbines. The whales run away from those sounds. They're frightened of those sounds. We know that mothers and their calves can split apart and go into feeding less places where there's not as many fish for feeding. They can also make them tired to run away from that, and also can push them into areas where there's a lot of boat traffic. So there's two very well-known mechanisms for how these activities would cause deaths. And the government has been saying that they've been researching this, and we have shown that they've not been researching it, or they have been researching it and discovered what we discovered, which means they've been covering it up. Either of which is a scandal, because they've been reassuring the public that they've been looking into this. We go out on the first boat trip out with an acoustic specialist, and he drops the hydrophone, which is the underwater microphone, into the water, and they discover these unbelievably loud levels, high decibel sounds for sonar tracking. So this is, I think it's a major environmental scandal. I think it's the biggest environmental scandal I've ever worked on in 30 years of environmental advocacy. We are already talking to members of Congress about hearings on this. We need subpoena powers. I believe that both NOAA and BOEM, the two main federal organizations that are responsible for protecting these amazing mammals, of which there's only 340 individuals left,
Wow,
that these
340
agencies
only?
have violated their public trust. They have not done what they're supposed to be doing, and I don't trust them, and I don't think members of Congress should trust them. I think the public should not trust them. We need a proper investigation to get to the bottom of what's going on.
Can you tell us more about how the wind energy industry and the oversight, the governmental institutions have responded to the claims you make in this documentary?
They have not responded. They have not responded yet. We are going to take our findings to them with members of Congress because I absolutely do not trust these agencies. We talked to scientists in these agencies who have been raising the alarm. I should point out that last year, a senior scientist with the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, which is called NOAA, sent a letter warning that there could be population-wide effects on the North Atlantic right whale, and by which he meant extinction. He was ignored and overruled by his superiors who are jamming this project forward. Similarly, all of the major environmental groups sent a letter 2 years ago raising the exact same concerns, and they were overridden by their bosses who are dead set on having these huge industrial wind projects off the eastern shore. So we are going to go to them with our data. We have two sets of data. It's the acoustics data and it's also the boat data, which shows this correlation with the wind deaths. But we're going to do it with members of Congress because these, in my view, these federal agencies are sources of disinformation. And I'm using that very strong word deliberately here. I believe that they're deliberately misleading the public about the risk to these whales.
It was, yeah, there's only 300 and, I think, what was it? 300 and what? 347 or something like that whales left. That's crazy. That's sad. That's very sad.